Hello, Greg from Balloon Markets here, and welcome to BMTV. This time we are joined by a first-time guest, and I'm genuinely very excited about introducing you to Melanie Allen from Balloon Artworks. Melanie, hello.
Hello, Greg. Nice to be here. Thank you very much for the invitation.
No, thank you for joining us. I'm genuinely excited to talk to you because I know we've done a little bit of talking before we turned the camera on there, but I find your view on things quite inspiring, and I think what you've done in the balloon industry in the relatively short period of time you've been in the industry, I think is phenomenal. So to start with, I just want you to introduce yourself and what you did before you got into balloons, why you got into balloons, how you got into balloons, to everybody out there. So over to you.
Okay, well, hi everyone. I spent 20 years in the voluntary sector before I joined the balloon community. I had one of those life-changing events that sort of made me rethink my life and how I wanted to go forward with things. And I, quite by chance, had picked up my first bag of balloons in 2015. So prior to 2015, mid-2015, I hadn't touched a balloon ever.
Wow.
I didn't even know that balloon twisting was a thing. I think I'd seen my first balloon flower when I was in my 40s, and it was a 4-petal flower with a straight stem, just popped in a vase in the middle of a table, and I just thought it was the most amazing thing. I'd never seen anything like it. Yeah. Fast forward many years, and 2015, my husband and I, we've been doing a charity event for about 3 years every year. And I said to him, I'm bored with doing the same old thing. And I truly do not know where the idea came from, but I said to him, we're going to learn to model balloons. And
had you been drinking? Did he think you were a bit crazy?
No, I don't drink at all. So no
excuse there.
Unless I'd had one peppermint tea too many. So he just said, yes, dear. So he was probably not listening to me at the time, but actually it then transpired that many years earlier he'd made a balloon dog. And so I was like, oh, you've made a balloon dog, it's possible, we could do this. So on the back of that, we bought one of those dreadful kits with the awful pump and the really cheap balloons, and I think we popped every single balloon. But we realised, because you just look at the balloons, you'd hold the 260s up, it's like, I can really see daylight through this. They were so thin, so we twigged that the balloons weren't good quality, and we bought some better quality balloons, Qualitex, I think. But I've actually got the receipt from my first balloon purchase back in 2015. We went from there, and we started watching videos on YouTube, and the event was coming up, so there was this pressure to make this work. But we started to learn. I think we were watching Mike Floyd's series, and he guides you through, and we'd started off, we'd made a sword and a flower and a heart, and I can't remember what else, but we got to episode 4 or 5, and suddenly pinch twists came along, and I could not get these pinch twists, and I was so disheartened and very nearly gave up at that point. My husband mastered the pinch twist before I did. He showed me how to do it, and we carried on from there. But I do wonder how many people have a go at balloon twisting, and then the pinch twist come along, and they think, oh gosh, this is just too hard. Because it is such a strange thing to be doing with a balloon, sort of pulling it up, distorting it, and you think, oh, I've got to pop it, and if it's overinflated, it is going to pop. Now, popping balloons is an occupational hazard, so you need to get over that. It is going to happen. But one of the things I like to do is trying to come up with designs that people can make without having to pinch twist. So I started as a twister, I then fell in love with Decor, but I so want to encourage more people to have a go at twisting, because if you can add twisted elements to your decor, then you're adding more value, you're expanding the possibilities, and you're developing yourself and you're perfecting your art. So I've come up with lots of different designs where pinch twists aren't involved, and that's one of the things I'm going to be teaching today. The design that I'm teaching today is it's a body concept, and it doesn't involve pinch twist.
Fantastic. I'm looking forward to that, but let's not get to that just yet. I want to know more about you. Now, we're talking about teaching and all of that sort of stuff. You've created this fantastic resource yourself, haven't you? So you've got free videos on your YouTube channel.
I have.
So how many videos have you got on your YouTube channel?
There must be a couple of hundred.
Wow. Okay.
I've not counted, but yes, there must be a couple of hundred, I would think.
So that's a great resource there. But also you have your paid for tutorials, haven't you? And they vary in price, I believe. Is that right? Depending on what they are.
They do, yes. Yes, they do. Yes.
So
I've got...
Sorry, go ahead.
So I've got some tutorials that are twisting, and I've got some tutorials that are more decor based around aqua balloons and bubbles and things that you can do with those. So there's a bit of a mix there. Hopefully something for everybody.
Well, I saw one of your videos on YouTube earlier. I was having a look at a few, and it was just how to use an aqua balloon, and it was just very, very obvious to me, but I can completely understand what you're saying, how it's not a bubble balloon, it's a completely different kind of balloon. And it's little videos like that I think it was a 10-minute video, and I think it's just really, really useful to people getting into the industry. So we'll put the link up to your YouTube channel, and
fantastic, thank you.
If people want to go and have a look at some more of the advanced work, would you say it's advanced work in your paid for series, paid for platform?
The aqua balloons is basically taking people from, guiding people from the beginning if they've not used the aqua balloons before, and I guide them through a range of techniques, from putting confetti in there, different ways to create snow effects or illusions within the aqua balloon. But then I've got my Bubble ABC series, which is Bobos, Clears and ABC. Bobos, Clears, what's the other? Aqua balloons. Those are more advanced techniques, some aspects of distortion, using water. I've got one where I call it a sort of a microclimate, where you've got water and leaves and things, and a dragonfly in the middle.
Amazing.
So I've got different things. So there's a sort of a beginners series for the aquas and more advanced techniques for people if they want to move on.
No, fantastic. So go and have a look at that, everybody. We'll put the links down below on YouTube as well. Now, obviously you've told us very briefly what you were doing, how you got into it, and how you struggled with pinch twists. But I think you've got a different outlook from what I can see. You're probably one of the most prominent people on YouTube and using video as a way to get your brand out there. What led you to choose that? Because a lot of people just go on social media, they just use Instagram. What made you choose that?
I don't think I'm a natural social media user, so I was struggling to get traction on Facebook and Instagram. I don't have lots of personal connections, through Facebook. I think if you're someone who uses Facebook, as an individual and use it a lot, you probably stand a much better chance of attracting a following that way. And these days, I've kind of abandoned Facebook other than to connect with the balloon community, and similar on Instagram. But what I was finding was people were finding me more through the website. I also had a bit of an experience of having made almost a tutorial for myself and then having to refer back to it a year later, because I'd had rather an unusual request from the professor of endoscopic surgery at one of the local universities, and he was with the vet school. And I got out of the blue, I got this request for, can you make an anatomically accurate dog's stomach?
Very common request in our industry, Melanie. Very common.
There is a tutorial available. I said to him, I honestly don't know, but I kind of thought, well, you're setting your stall out that you make anything, and my view is my definition of art. I don't know what the textbook definition of art is, but my definition is kind of imagination made real. So if I can imagine it, then my stance is I can make it. So he sent me some pictures of dog stomachs, non-gory, and I set about, and I thought, well, I don't know whether I can do this. So I thought, well, I'll film it. So I filmed myself making these dog stomachs, and then sort of sent them off to him. It felt very strange not having to put glitter on or a bow or anything like that. And he was so thrilled with them, because what he was doing, he said that the students, they were struggling to practice endoscopic surgery for the dog's stomachs. So what he then did, I got a picture from him of all these stomachs covered in papier-mâché, and he then made these models. I mean, real out-of-the-box thinking and problem-solving on his part. So he then made these models, and the students did the endoscopic surgery, and that is now a regular request. So thank goodness I made the tutorial, because I now know exactly what I did and what I need to do for when he wants more, which it tends to be an annual thing. So that was one of the reasons I got into doing the tutorials.
So your bad memory is basically what you're saying. Your bad memory is what got you to do it on video. Brilliant.
Well, sometimes you do look at something and people say, how do you make it? You think, can't quite remember. I can think of several ways I could do it, but I can't necessarily exactly remember what I did at that point. So yes, I have been known to refer back to my own videos on occasion. And in the early days, I think a lot of people, when they start a YouTube channel, they're not quite sure what they're doing. You have to sort of find your way. And
Absolutely.
I was putting examples of my decor out, and what I call skills demonstration, where I wasn't necessarily showing you how to make something, but I was kind of talking and rambling and showing that I could make something. Because I was doing twisting gigs, for kids' parties and corporate events, that sort of thing. So it just kind of grew from there, and people seem to like the more tutorial aspect of things. So I just started doing more of that, and it's kind of grown from there.
Yeah.
And I enjoy doing it. I tend not to want to make things more than once, so I like to make something, and then once I've done it, it's like, well, I want to make something different. I don't want to be making the same thing over and over again. So it's a nice way for that design and piece of art to have a longer life than it would normally, because other balloon artists can use that tutorial if they want to and recreate it, because not everybody's got the time to spend designing. So one of the things I worried about most when I started my channel was I thought I might run out of ideas. So when I thought, well, I'm really going to commit to these tutorials, and I've got 10 videos planned, not necessarily filmed, but I knew what I was going to make for the first 10 videos, and I worried that at the end of the 10 I would run out of ideas, and the opposite thing has happened. I actually find that I have so many more ideas than I will ever film, and I've got sketchbooks literally all around the house, and I'll just sketch out little designs just to log that design somewhere and that idea. So if anyone picked up these sketchbooks, they think we've got a 4-year-old child in the house, because they're not drawn well, but it's just that idea is then logged, the bones of it. So it's good fun. I enjoy it.
No, I think it's fantastic, and I think it's something, like you say, if you're not a natural social media person, how else can you market yourself? Because that's what you are. You are your own brand, really.
Yeah.
And how do you do that? And I think video really helps. It's obviously worked quite well for us as well over the years, but I think it's one of those things that you can be you, and people get to see you and buy into you. And I think that's worked really, really well for you. Now, there's one thing I do want to talk about, because you've done a good job of your website. I've been on your website, had a look at that. And I look at your shop page, and you've got your prices on there. And some of those prices might shock some people. But I was really, really, really pleased to see some of the prices on there. What's your, obviously pricing is talked a lot about in our industry,
Yes.
because a lot of people we don't think do it very, very well. People undersell, undervalue themselves and their skill. What is your take on pricing?
I think you're right. I think my perception is that a lot of people do undervalue their skills. I see some of the prices that other professionals are charging in some of the balloon groups, and I think, well, I couldn't do it for that. You know, how have you even covered the materials for, you know, that design, let alone, you know, factored in your time. And I think a lot of balloon artists aren't really valuing their time, and they're not. I think about things in terms of the opportunity cost as well. So if I wasn't doing this, what is the opportunity for, you know, what opportunity am I missing? So if I'm making a piece, there are other ways that I could be making money at that same time instead of doing that. So for me, it has to be worthwhile to make that piece and deliver it. And I do charge for delivery, unless it's within, you know, it's very local, within about 3 miles. I don't charge for delivery, that's included. Yeah. But I have a minimum order.
Okay.
And then beyond that, you know, I do, beyond that 3 mile radius, I do charge for delivery. So I do think about the opportunity cost, you know, and, you know, you get people who want you to deliver half an hour away or an hour away. You know, so you know, if it's an hour there and back, that's a you know, 2 hour journey. You know, you have to factor that in somewhere.
Absolutely.
So the value of the order has to you know, stack up, and you need to be you know, factor in your delivery charges as well. Yeah. And you know, I have got other things that I could do. I obviously make tutorials and sell them. So you know, that might be you know, a better way for me to spend that time, rather than, you know, making something, you know, quite small that I'm not getting you know, a return on. You know, than thinking, yes, I have to chase every order no matter how tiny it is. So, you know, I think we need to sort of think of things in more commercial terms.
Absolutely.
I've also in the last year got into publishing, you know, so that's another way I've diversified within balloons, writing children's books, but illustrating them with balloon animals, you know, so that's
Let me jump in there. I don't suppose you have those books to hand, do you?
Oh, funny you should say that, Greg. I do, yes. So there are.
I feel like Graham Norton. What are you promoting? What are you promoting?
I feel they're all Quince Cotton Ball. So Quince Cotton Ball's a little bunny rabbit who lives in Derbyshire, in my garden actually.
What are the chances? What are the chances?
What are the chances? They're all illustrated with balloon animals in the real world. So that brings challenges in itself, you know, sort of taking your balloon animals out, you know, into somewhere in the garden to Cotton Ball Burrow, and coping with the wind, the sun, and, you know, trying to get the shot you want. So he's just a little character that grew during lockdown. So Quince Cotton Ball Keeps His Distance was the first one that came out, you know, trying to, just through the medium of a very gentle story, tell children about social distancing. And they've grown from there. So they quite often feature my own animals as well. So, you know, the arch villain is my lovely cat, Midnight, who makes his appearance as Major Sublumpy Wumpy. And, you know, he's the arch villain. So that's something I enjoy doing. And, you know, I'd like to do more of that.
If people want to get hold of those books, where do they go to get them?
They're on Amazon.
Okay, cool.
You know, I can let you have a link to Amazon. I've got an author page on Amazon, so they're all there. They're available as ebooks. If you've got Kindle Unlimited, they're free. They're part of your Kindle Unlimited package. Right. Or you can have them in print version. They're print on demand. Yeah. You know, so you just order them and then they're printed for you.
We'll put the links to those on the YouTube description as well. God, it's going to have so many links, Alex. So many links. But anyway, no, that's fantastic. I really like the way you are thinking and the fact that your time is valuable. So rather than spending 2 hours traveling somewhere for a single 3 balloon bouquet, that's really not a good use of your time if you're not charging for delivery. So
Yes.
obviously one of the big marquee designs I saw on your website, it was £249, I think. And a lot of people
Yes.
would say, I couldn't charge that. What do you say to those people?
Well, I think that's for each business owner to make their own decisions on their pricing. You know, it's the market I'm in. I've tried to pitch myself at a certain level within the market, and you know, each display is unique. You look at the amount of product in that display. There's a lot of product. There's a big helium arrangement included in that.
Yeah.
So you know, it's it's where I've pitched myself, and I remember, I can't remember who it was. I remember hearing someone talk about, you know, they picked up a tray and they said, you know, how much do you think this, you know, will cost? And it was, you know, well, it might be £5 in a, you know, economy shop, you know, or it might be £15 if you're getting it from M&S, you know, and if it was in, you know, Harrods, then, you know, the sky's the limit. So, you know, it's where you pitch yourself within the market, and the difference is really it's your brand. I think the difference between where you are, everybody has to decide where they want to position themselves within the market. So, you know, that's the decision for the business owner.
Yeah, I like what you just said there, because I think in a very similar way to you. So you're talking about branding. You're not just somebody that does balloons. You are a brand, and you've created this brand. And where that comes from is, you said this earlier as well, is commitment. You committed to doing your tutorials. You committed to those 10 to start with. And now you've got so many ideas you don't know what to do with. But I think that is a key word. If you want to do something like you're doing, using video as your means of communicating, you have to commit. And we said exactly the same. Our very first BMTV, I said to Rob, who was hello Rob, how you doing? Rob, our videographer at the time, and I said, we're going to do this every week, no matter what. And yes, difficult sometimes, but yeah, that's what you've got to do. So that's very good.
It is. It's hard. Yes, people don't realise sometimes the times that you might be filming, you know, or you might have got up at 5 o'clock in the morning to edit a video because you've got a full day and you know you're not going to be able to fit it in, you know, during your normal daytime, or, you know, finishing something up at 2 in the morning. You know, they don't see that side of things.
Absolutely.
But yes, it is a big commitment, yes.
But I think you're doing a fantastic job. You're building your brand very well, and yeah, I think it's fantastic. So yes, thumbs up from me. Not that you want thumbs up from me, but just thumbs up anyway. I think you're doing a great job. Right, are you going to show us something? You're going to show us one of these
Absolutely.
What twist is it? Pinch twist. Thank you, Alex. Non-pinch twist.
Pinch twist free. Yes, pinch twist free. So I'm going to start with a balloon base, and I'm demonstrating using the hand pump. So if you've got, you know, the inflators, the Legenda, I love my Legenda. I love my premium inflators, but today I'm just going to be demonstrating using a hand pump. So if you've just got basic equipment, really this is all you need if you're just getting started. So I'm just going to make the simple base first, and then we've got something to put the display on. So I've just inflated that balloon with 3 strokes of the Qualitex hand pump. With each stroke, for the smaller balloons, you're putting in about half inch. You start off 1 stroke, that tends to inflate to about 3 inches. 2 strokes, 3.5. 3 strokes, 4. So that is roughly a 4-inch size to 4 inches. Yeah. So we'll do the next one. Okay. And then just tie the 2 together. Okay, so we've got our duplicate. We want to make another one of these.
Yep. I was blown away the first time I ever realised that the pump, you could measure a balloon by doing that. I was amazed. It just never entered my mind. And my wife had been doing balloons for a while, just using the sizer, not really considering that you could size with the pump. But yeah.
just by counting. One thing to be aware of though is, I'll just demonstrate with this one. So it's really important that when you inflate, and you've inflated with how many strokes of the pump you want, you get the balloon off the pump straight away, because if you do this, you'll see that balloon is going down. And I think this is where a lot of people make the mistake. They don't realise that they'll lose air through the pump. So it's really important. 1, 2, 3, off. The pump straight away. And I always return the pump to the downward position, because, you know, if you're part way up, you know, that's not going to be a full stroke. So I always try and get into that habit. And then we just tie. And then we'll just twist those together. Okay, so we've got our cluster of 4, size to 4 inches. And then the next one, just 2 strokes, so we're doing exactly the same thing, but just sizing these to 3.5 inches. And it really doesn't take very long at all to do this. Just stretch the necks over one another and then tie. And then we just take those 2 duplicates, pass them over one another, swap them round. Okay?
Simple.
Simple. So what we want to do is we want to take one of the necks from our larger cluster and pull it through the centre of the smaller cluster, and then just wrap in a figure of 8 motion around, and that's going to connect those 2 together. So we always want the top layer when we do this type of cluster to just be offset to one side. So you've got the 2 balloons at the bottom and the one here, 2, 1, 2, 1, and they're always, you know, offset in this way. So that's your base. I've got a very small water weight, so I've double stuffed a 5-inch round and made a small water weight, and I'm just going to pull that into the base, through to the centre and wrap around, again in that figure of 8 motion, so that base is nicely weighted.
I think you've got a video on how to make a water weight as well, haven't you?
I have, yes, and how to make sand weights as well.
We'll put that on there as well. We'll put that, let's get as many links as possible in the description.
Link overload. Next I'm using a 350. If you're used to using 260s, you may find the 350s feel, you know, quite a bit bigger. I remember when I moved on from 260s to 350s, they felt enormous, but you can do such a lot with them, so I do recommend you give it a go. So we're just going to inflate this, okay, and we're not going to use all of this balloon, so don't worry too much about how much of a tail you've got, maybe 5 fingers or so. And that's the other thing that we obsess about in the beginning when we're starting twisting. Oh gosh, how long is the tail? Is the tail long enough, short enough? And what I would try and encourage people to do is not worry too much about it. You inflate it, you know, as far as it goes, and work with what you've got. The other thing to be aware of is that when you inflate, particularly with the hand pump, you've got much more pressure here at the beginning than you have down here, which is why we recommend just letting just a little bit of air out here, just so it's more softer and more malleable. And then we tie, okay? So just tie a soft knot, okay? And then give it a bit of a squeeze, again, so you're sending the air down. And one of the things I say about twisting is your job is to manage the air within the balloon. Okay, so you're constantly trying to assess, you know, does that feel too tight? Is the balloon feeling as though it's bulging? And if you need to, you know, you give your balloon a squeeze and it will send the air further down into, you know, this little area that you've got here for expansion. So we just want to make a loop. So grab hold of the knot and nozzle, and that loop is about the size of my hand.
Okay.
So we measure horses in hands, so why not balloons? So for me that's about 3.5 inches, and then just twist. And what I like to do is take hold of that knot and nozzle and just pass it through the centre of the balloon, because that is less likely to come undone having done that. So again, let's just soften our balloon a little bit and make another loop. And very roughly, you want this next loop to be about twice the length of this balloon. And then just twist. Okay. And we can break off the end or cut off the end. I like to use my little quick cutter on the end, and then just tie that in a knot. Okay. And then we can trim off the messy bits. So this is your basic body.
Yeah. That quick cutter was fantastic, by the way. That was so slick,
yes,
the way that just cuts off.
I'm a big fan of the quick cutter, yes. And I think that stems from being a twister. I'm used to having, you know, my utility belt around me, so that's just very natural to me to work that way. So I'm now using a 160. The thing I do is I tend to use the larger hand pump to inflate the 160s, and that's because with the pocket pump, I tend to find you get sort of banding, you know, across with each stroke of the pump. It tends to create a very slight bend, so I find you get a smoother inflation. The time I do use the pocket pump is if for some reason I've cut the balloon and the nozzle has gone, because then it is very difficult to get that onto the larger pump. So you need to make sure that, you know, just give the 160 a bit of a wiggle so that it's directly above the nozzle for the hand pump. Yeah. And then just inflate as you would normally. Okay, and I've got a little tail there of a couple of fingers. Again, just soften slightly. Okay. And we're making another loop. So I think the thing to bear in mind about this design is if you can make a daisy flower, you can make this design, okay, because it is mainly loops. Okay, so I'm going to make a loop of a little more than 2 fingers. So we're just making a twist, and again, passing that knot and nozzle through to the other side. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to twist the latex here. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a sort of an uninflated little section here just by twisting. And I only want ½ inch or so. And I'm going to hang on to all of that and then take the head, and I'm going to pass the ear through the centre of this 350 here. And just feed that through. Okay, so it comes out the other side. Yeah. And then just push it up slightly. And then with this balloon, we want to make another loop twist, about the same size as this one. So, again, about 2 fingers, so give that a twist. And you want to cut off, but cut off about here. And then you can tie. And then with this section, pass that through the head and wrap it around this ear, and then just let it disappear. And then what you want to do is just push these ears up, and they will just pressure fit there. And so you've got this slightly this slight distortion to the head. Yeah. Okay. So I want another 160. So inflate in the same way. So again, a tail of 2 or 3 fingers, just soften and tie. Okay. And take the knot and nozzle and just wrap that through and round. Again, make sure everything's nice and soft, and then you just want to follow the body round. So just encircle the body with the 160, and then wrap that around the neck. And then we want to make 2 little arms, so we're just bringing the balloon round and just curling it round slightly below halfway down and make a twist. And then we're going to make another loop to match this one. Okay, so just measure very approximately. Doesn't have to be exactly the same size, and then just take that balloon and wrap it around the neck. Okay. And then what you can do with the rest of this one is just take hold of that tip and turn that into a loop. Okay?
Yeah.
So grab hold of that and wrap the tip into the neck and wrap it round. And this is to replace a pinch twist. So this is, with this type of design, quite often at this point you would make a pinch twist.
Yeah.
Because that little loop is going to help hold the head in position. So that's actually at the back, and we're just using that loop to keep the head in position.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's going to move back. You can actually skip this altogether if you want to. Next, I'm using a 6-inch heart, and I don't want to fully inflate this, just to the point where the lobes of the heart are starting to appear.
Okay.
Twist in that, because what I want to do is just check that that's not going to be too big. So I do like a full muzzle, but I'm going to let a little bit more air out and then just tie. And then take hold of that knot and nozzle, pull it into the back of the head and wrap around that little loop that we made. And then just let go, and then you can just move the head around.
Brilliant. I've got to tell you, Melanie, we just went to West Midlands Safari Park this week, and the hippos were very disappointing because they were all just lying in the mud, huddled together. They didn't do a thing. It was very, very boring. Not
well, they obviously didn't know what was coming, so they might have been more excited to see you.
I think they would have been. Had they seen this video, they'd have been dancing around.
So we've got that little bit of 160 left from when we made the ears. And all you need to do is just pass that through the centre of the body. Okay? Pull that through into the base here. And we can use this to connect to the green base that we made. Okay? So just pull that 160 round and wrap it around the base in a figure of 8. You do that with both of those tails that you've got. Okay. So you may need, depending on how your hippo is sitting, you may need to move this strap slightly further up the body or slightly further forward. I'm fairly happy with how that is at the moment.
Okay.
So the next thing is, at this point, I tend to draw the face. And for this, I use a Sharpie brush tip. And these are actually quite difficult to get hold of in this country. So I have to get these from America.
Oh, right.
But I find that they're easier to use. They cover a larger surface area more smoothly and more quickly than the fine point. So I'm just going to draw a semicircle, an oval here. They do take a little bit longer to dry than the others. And then another one here. So there's not a lot of drawing on this balloon. Okay, and then I'm going to do 2 little flicks for eyelashes. And then here I just draw some nostrils and a big smiley face. with an Edding 750 paint pen, I just do a little eye highlight.
So simple.
Yes, and this doesn't need to be complicated. So I think sometimes twisting is seen as a bit of a dark art. Now, Greg, I'm getting my makeup out. I think it's time to just touch up my extensive makeup. I put my lipstick on today. You know, it's a sort of a red letter day. Lipstick lasts me about 10 years. I feel cheated if it doesn't. But I've got a palette of blushes, and I'm just going to put a little bit of blusher here. So it just adds to the cute factor a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's the basic design, but there are a few things we can do to embellish this design. I find these are good as bases for helium bouquets, so you can team this with a helium bouquet.
Okay, yeah.
They're fun for centerpieces if you're doing a jungle theme party, something like that. They're quick to do, and people do like them. So I'm just taking a 160 in pale pink, and again I've got a tail of 2 or 3 fingers, and I'm just going to make some small loops. So don't worry whether these loops are the same size, really doesn't matter. Just 2 small loops. Okay, make everything nice and soft by giving it a squeeze, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull. Position that at the front of the display, bring the 160 around the back, and then at the back here, I'm just going to put a little twist here, and just split the balloon, and then bring it back around the front, and then twist that 160 directly into that cluster of loops. I'm just going to snip off the end. I'll use my scissors for that. And then take this bit of strap here, pull it back through and wrap into that little split that you made at the back here. Whoops, where's it gone? And that's just going to help hold it in position.
Yeah.
I could do with my little strap here being slightly longer, but I think it'll be okay. Okay, so that's just going to help cinch everything together and keep that little bow in position. So the other thing I like to do with these is make a small flower. So again, I'm using a 160, so just little loops. So just a small loop of a couple of fingers or so. Another small loop. It doesn't matter if you want to make a 4-petal or a 5-petal flower, whatever suits you. So I think the balloon world had a sort of a fixation with, you know, flowers having a certain number of petals. Everyone was doing seven petal flowers at one point, and there was quite a craze for them. But I would say do whatever you feel most comfortable with. If you're at that stage where, you know, you're most comfortable doing 4-petal flowers, then stick with that. And move on to 5-petal when you've mastered the 4-petal.
Are your customers going to worry if it's 4 petals over 5 petals?
No.
And no.
Exactly. And these are, as artists, I think these are our design choices to make. You don't need someone else's permission to, make a 4-petal flower or a 5-petal flower. I'm just going to trim off the the tip end of this 160.
Yeah.
And so I am going to use my pocket pump just to make a little centre for, in fact, I'm going to use a paler pink just so it shows up a little bit better. And then just twist off a bubble and tie a knot. And then just pull that into the centre of your flower. And we can just give that to our hippo to hold.
Oh, that's so nice.
Wrap that in. And you can do as much as you want to with this. There are other little things we can do.
Yeah. Yeah, you can just, it's all adding value, isn't it? So this sort of thing is,
It is.
the more you add to it, the more you can charge for a few pence more and a couple of minutes more, and you could be adding pounds. So, no, that's great.
So I've got a few other things that I'm just reach here. So there are other options. So you could have a little bow, just, you know, with a glue dot, or you know, using a 160 just to pull that in at the ear, or, you know, you've got other types of flowers, you could put that there, or you could have this, or you've got little butterflies. So there are lots of ways to embellish your designs and really make the design yours.
Yeah.
So I really like to encourage people to take this sort of design as a concept, an idea, and really make it their own, you know, play with it. I get messages from people saying, do you mind if I change your design and do X, Y, or Z? And no, I love it when people do that, because then they're not just copying, they're making their own art, and I think that's so important, and what I really want to encourage people to do. So I've got couple of examples to show you of different variations of this hippo, if you're happy to see them.
I am.
They're already made up, so you don't have to watch me make them. So these guys they're ready for swimming.
Cool.
You know, they've got their little armbands and flotation aids. We've got this one on the normal base, we've got this one on a slightly bigger base, and you know, you can add your helium bouquet at the end here and attach it.
Yeah.
It's just weighted at the ends. So, you know, you can make all sorts, and just you know, let your imagination run wild. I think my imagination scares my husband sometimes, but
that's fantastic though.
have fun with it.
And I think it just adds so much compared to just a frilly weight at the bottom of a bunch of balloons. And that's fantastic. I love it. I love to see people's creativity and how you can just make literally a few balloons into something so amazing. So no, that's fantastic.
And there's nothing technically clever about this. You know, it's I think if you can inflate a balloon, I think you can, you know, make this design. So you know, I'd love to see what people do with it.
Well, you've not seen how bad I am when I get my hands on balloons. That's why you don't see me actually doing something. Although Alex is very keen to get me actually doing something, being taught how to do something on screen. So maybe that's something to follow. Who knows? Who knows? Melanie, as a guest on BMTV, I hope you've been briefed about asking the question of the week. That's excellent. It means we don't have to worry about my terrible memory. Thank you, Alex. And so what is your question of the week for everybody out there?
Well, I've shared my struggles of, you know, becoming a balloon artist with pinch twisting and so forth. So what techniques have you struggled the most with? I'd love to know what techniques you've been struggling with. Are you still struggling with them? Have you mastered them? How you got through them? What sort of tips do you have? So,
fantastic.
So that I'd love to know. I'm interested to know.
So that is the question of the week, everybody. What technique have you struggled with the most in your ballooning career? And if you've got a solution to it, let us know that as well. Leave your comments down below on Facebook and on YouTube. Melanie, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I've really enjoyed it.
Likewise, thank you for inviting me.
No worries at all, thank you. And thank you everybody out there for watching. Thank you for subscribing. If you've not subscribed, please do. Hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell icon, and you'll be notified every time we upload a new video. Stay safe, stay happy. See you next time. Bye.